Hey friends, welcome to tonight's relaxing philosophy for sleep. This slow-spoken, bedtime gentle narration is designed to help you unwind, clear your mind, and drift into a peaceful night's rest. Imagine lying in bed 2,000 years ago. In ancient Rome, no screens glow in the darkness. No notifications pulse through the night. Yet the mind still races. The emperor, Marcus Aurelius, lies awake in his chamber, thoughts tumbling over one another like stones in a rushing stream. Tomorrow's decisions, today's mistakes, words left unsaid, actions taken too quickly. The same restless spiral you know so well. He reaches for his journal, stylus in hand, and begins to write, not to solve his problems, but to understand why his mind won't let him rest. Tonight, we'll explore how ancient Stoics transformed their anxieties into tranquility, their worries into wisdom, their restless nights into profound rest. You'll discover that insomnia isn't a modern curse, it's an ancient human experience. And philosophy holds keys to peace that no sleeping pill can replicate. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Drop a comment with your location and your local time. It's fascinating to think we're all connected across time zones, all seeking the same peaceful sleep through timeless wisdom. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your mind is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Right now, as you lie in darkness, it scans for threats, rehearses conversations, replays moments from the day, anticipates tomorrow's challenges. This isn't a malfunction. This is your mind trying to protect you, trying to prepare you, trying to keep you safe. The problem isn't that your mind works this way. The problem is that you're trying to stop it. The ancient Stoics understood something profound about the racing mind. They recognized that fighting your thoughts creates the very tension that prevents sleep. When you command yourself to stop thinking, you're thinking about not thinking. When you demand that your mind be quiet, you're generating noise. It's like trying to smooth water by slapping its surface. Each effort creates new ripples. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave and became one of history's most influential philosophers, taught his students a revolutionary idea. He said that we suffer, not from the things themselves, but from our judgments about them. Your racing thoughts aren't the problem. Your judgment that they shouldn't be there. That's what creates the suffering. That's what keeps you awake. Think about this for a moment. When you notice a thought and immediately think, I shouldn't be thinking this, I need to sleep, you've just created a second thought. And you notice you're still thinking, and you become frustrated. The third thought. Soon you're not just thinking about whatever kept you awake initially. You're thinking about thinking. You're anxious about being anxious. You're awake about being awake. The Stoic approach is radically different. It says, notice the thought. Acknowledge it. Don't judge it as good or bad, helpful or unhelpful. Simply see it as what it is, a thought arising in consciousness, like a wave appearing on the ocean's surface. The wave isn't wrong for appearing. It doesn't need to be stopped or fixed. It simply is. And like all waves, it will pass on its own if you don't grab onto it. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "Never intended for others to read, you have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. But here's what many people miss about this famous quote. He wasn't talking about controlling what thoughts appear. He was talking about controlling how you relate to them. You can't stop the thought from arising, but you can choose not to wrestle with it. Imagine your mind is like the night sky. Thoughts are like clouds drifting across that sky. Some clouds are dark and heavy. Others are light and wispy. Some move quickly. Others linger. But your true self are not the clouds. You're the sky itself. Vast, spacious, unchanging. The clouds cannot harm the sky. They simply pass through it. When you realize you are the sky and not the clouds, everything changes. This realization is the first step toward sleep that the ancient philosophers discovered. Not controlling your thoughts, not suppressing them, not fighting them, simply recognizing that you are the space in which thoughts appear and disappear. They come, they go, and you remain peaceful and vast as the night sky itself. Your breath continues, steady and slow. Your body rests against the softness beneath you, and somewhere in the stillness, you begin to feel it a small loosening, like a knot beginning to untie. This is the moment when philosophy stops being an idea and becomes an experience. When the ancient wisdom moves from your head into your bones. When understanding becomes peace. The Stoics knew that the mind won't stop thinking until it feels safe. And it won't feel safe until you stop treating it as an enemy. Your thoughts aren't attacking you. They're trying to help you in their clumsy, repetitive way. When you acknowledge them without judgment, when you thank them for trying to protect you, something shifts. The urgency dissolves. The racing slows. Not because you've controlled your mind, but because you've finally stopped fighting it. As your eyes grow heavier, as your breathing deepens, you're already beginning to understand. What took the Stoics a lifetime to master. The path to peace isn't through control, it's through acceptance. Not resignation, but genuine acceptance of what is. Your thoughts are here, your wakefulness exists, and both are perfectly okay. Neither needs to be different for you to be at peace. This understanding of acceptance opens naturally into another Stoic insight, one that transforms not just how we sleep, but how we live. Marcus Aurelius didn't become emperor by accident, and he didn't maintain his sanity by chance. Every evening, as the sun descended over Rome and the marble halls of the palace grew quiet, he performed a ritual that kept him from drowning in the weight of empire. This wasn't a religious ceremony or a magical incantation. It was something far more practical, far more powerful. He sat with himself and asked a simple question. What did I do today that was within my control? And what happened that was not? You carry the same burdens he did, though your empire might be smaller. The difficult conversation at work, the tension with someone you love, the decision you regret, the opportunity you missed. These thoughts follow you to bed like shadows, and they whisper the same anxious questions over and over. What if I had said something different? What if I had acted sooner? What if tomorrow brings the same struggles? The emperor understood something. You're about to rediscover tonight. These questions create suffering because they blur a crucial boundary, the line between what you controlled and what you didn't. Most of what happened today was not in your hands. The traffic that made you late, the other person's reaction, the outcome of your effort, the weather, the world's response to your existence. None of that was ever yours to control. Asterisk, but some things were. The care you put into your work, regardless of outcome. The kindness in your voice, regardless of reception. The honesty in your words, regardless of consequences. The effort you made, regardless of results. These belonged to you completely. And here's the profound truth that brings sleep. If you did your best with what was yours to control, then the day is complete. It requires nothing more from you. Not your worry, not your rehearsal, not your anxious planning. Asterisk Marcus would sit in his chamber, oil lamp flickering, and mentally review his day through this lens. Not to judge himself harshly, but to sort what was his from what wasn't. A senator insulted him in council. That senator's words not his to control. His own response, measured and dignified. That was his. An army struggled on a distant frontier. The outcome of Balabiona's control, his thoughtful strategy in clear orders, within his domain, the empire's future, not his to guarantee, his dedication to virtue today, completely his asterisk this practice, which the Stoics called evening reflection, wasn't about rehashing the day's events, it was about releasing them. Imagine setting down a heavy bag you've been carrying. You don't throw it violently. You don't feel guilty about its weight. You simply acknowledge what you carried, recognize that you carried it as well as you could, and gently place it on the ground. That's what Marcus did each night, and that's what allowed him to sleep. Asterisk, close your eyes now and bring to mind something from today that's still bothering you, not to solve it, but simply to see it. Notice how it feels in your body, perhaps tension in your chest, or tightness in your shoulders. This physical sensation is your mind trying to maintain control over something that's already passed. Something that may never have been yours to control in the first place. Asterisk, ask yourself Marcus's question. What part of this was actually mine? Strip away the other person's reaction. Remove the circumstances beyond your influence. Eliminate the outcome you couldn't guarantee. What remains? Perhaps it's just your intention, your effort, your values in action. And if you brought those things, if you showed up with integrity, with care, with your best self, then you did everything that was ever required. The rest was never your responsibility. Asterisk, feel that. Really feel it. The day doesn't need you to fix it anymore. It doesn't need your worry or your mental rehearsal. It happened. You participated as best you could with what was yours to control. Now it's complete. Like a finished story that needs no revision, no alternate ending, no anxious rewriting in the dark. Asterisk, the emperor would extinguish his lamp and lie down. Having separated his responsibilities from the world's chaos, he carried an empire, yet he slept. Not because his problems were solved, but because he knew which problems were his to carry and which belonged to fate. To others, to the vast, uncontrollable flow of existence. This distinction, this clear boundary is what transforms anxious wakefulness into peaceful rest. Asterisk, you might notice your mind offering protests. But if I don't think about it, I won't be prepared. If I let it go, I'm being irresponsible. I need to figure this out before tomorrow. These are the mind's last attempts to keep you vigilant, to keep you controlling what cannot be controlled. Thank these thoughts for trying to help. Then recognize them as clouds passing through your vast sky mind. They mean well, but they're confused about where your power actually lies. Asterisk, your power lies in this moment, in the softness of your breathing, in the choice to release what was never yours to hold, in the recognition that worrying about tomorrow doesn't make tomorrow better, it only makes tonight worse. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth intimately. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the future doesn't matter, but because the present is the only place where your power actually exists." Asterisk, as you sink deeper into your pillow, as your muscles begin to release their grip, you're practicing what the emperor practiced. You're laying down the day. You're acknowledging what was yours, your effort, your values, your genuine attempts, and releasing what wasn't. The outcomes, the reactions, the uncontrollable variables, all of it goes back to the universe, back to the flow of things, back to fate or fortune or whatever you want to call the vast mystery that governs what happens beyond our small sphere of influence. Asterisk, and in this release, there's a profound relief, a lightness. The day is finished, and you finished with it honorably. That's all that was ever required. Tomorrow will ask things of you, and when it comes, you'll respond with the same integrity you brought today. But right now, in this moment, there's nothing to do, nothing to solve, nothing to control. Just breath, just darkness, just the gentle descent into rest. Asterisk, this practice of distinguishing what's yours from what isn't leads us deeper still into the very foundation of Stoic peace. Epictetus lived most of his early life with a chain around his ankle. Born into slavery in the Roman Empire, he had no control over where he lived, what work he did, or even whether he would see another sunrise. Yet this man, who owned nothing and controlled less, discovered a freedom so profound that emperors would later study his teachings. The secret he uncovered in his powerlessness is the same secret that will help you sleep tonight. Asterisk. He taught a principle so simple it sounds almost absurd. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. That's it. That's the entire foundation. Yet within this obvious statement lies the cure for nearly every form of mental suffering, including the anxiety that keeps you staring at the ceiling while the hours slip past. Asterisk, here's what Epictetus said. It's up to you, your judgments, your values, your opinions, your desires, your aversions, and your actions. Everything internal. Everything that happens in the space of your own mind and will. Here's what's not up to you. Everything else. Your body's health, other people's thoughts, the weather, the past, the future, the outcomes of your efforts, reputation, success, loss, life, death, everything external. Asterisk, most people spend their lives backwards. They try to control what cannot be controlled, and they neglect what can. They worry obsessively about whether someone likes them, not up to them. They lose sleep over tomorrow's presentation. The outcome isn't up to them, only their preparation. They replay conversations, wishing they'd been different. The past isn't up to them. They imagine catastrophes, trying to prevent them through worry. The future isn't up to them. And all this mental energy directed at the uncontrollable leaves them exhausted, anxious, and awake at 3 a.m. Asterisk, you're lying here right now because some part of you is trying to control something beyond your reach. Maybe you're trying to control whether you fall asleep. That's not actually up to you. Sleep comes when conditions are right, when the body and mind are ready, when you stop trying to force it. Maybe you're trying to control how tomorrow will unfold. Not up to you. You can prepare, but you cannot script the day. Maybe you're trying to control what someone thinks of you. Never, ever up to you, no matter how hard you try. Asterisk, imagine you're standing in a river. The water flows past you, constantly cool, clear, unstoppable. You can't control the river. You can't make it flow faster or slower. You can't change its direction. You can't stop it. But here's what you can control: where you stand in the river, how you position your body, whether you resist the current or move with it, whether you fear the water or trust it. These choices are completely, utterly yours. Asterisk, life is that river. Right now, the current carries worries and thoughts and uncertainties past your awareness. You can't stop them from flowing, but you can choose how you stand in relation to them. You can choose whether to grab onto each thought as it passes, trying to hold it still, or whether to let it flow by. You can choose whether to tense against the current or soften into it. Asterisk, take a moment and notice what you're trying to control right now. Your breath might be shallow because you're trying to control whether you'll sleep. Your jaw might be tight because you're trying to control tomorrow's outcome. Your mind might be racing because you're trying to control variables that were never in your hands. Feel that effort. Feel how exhausting it is. Feel how it creates the very wakefulness you're trying to escape. Asterisk, now, gently, begin to release what isn't yours. You don't have to make yourself release it. You don't have to succeed at releasing. Just notice the possibility. What if you didn't have to control whether you sleep? What if sleep came or didn't come, and either was acceptable? What if tomorrow unfolded, however it unfolds, and your only job was to respond with integrity when it does? What if other people thought whatever they thought, and you couldn't change it even if you tried? Asterisk, Epictetus would say, this isn't resignation. This isn't giving up. This is the opposite. This is focusing your power where power actually exists. A slave had no power over his circumstances, but infinite power over his mind. You might feel powerless over many things right now, but you have complete power over where you direct your attention, how you interpret events, what you value, and who you choose to be in the face of what you cannot change. Asterisk, feel your shoulders dropping slightly as this understanding settles. Feel your breath deepening just a bit. This is what happens when you stop pushing against the river. When you stop trying to control what was never yours to control. The current doesn't become less strong, but you become less resistant. And in that reduced resistance, there's peace. Asterisk, the Stoics practiced this distinction constantly. When something happened, they would pause and ask, is this up to me or not up to me? Not up to me. Then I accept it completely and focus on my response, which is up to me. Up to me. Then I engage fully, bringing my best effort and values to bear. This simple categorization eliminated most of their suffering. Asterisk, you can practice this right now with whatever thought is visiting your mind. Is this thought about something up to you or not up to you? If it's about the past, not up to you. If it's about what someone else thinks or does, not up to you. If it's about an outcome beyond your direct control, not up to you. Let these thoughts pass like clouds through your vast sky. Don't fight them. Don't engage. Simply recognize. Not mine to control. Asterisk, and if a thought arises about something that is up to you, your values, your character, your response, your effort, then meet it calmly. You'll handle it when the time comes. You'll bring your best self to that moment. But right now, in the dark, there's nothing to do. The time for action isn't now. Now is the time for rest. Asterisk, your body knows this. Your muscles are already softening, releasing the tension of trying to control the uncontrollable. Your mind is beginning to understand what Epictetus knew in chains. Freedom isn't about controlling circumstances. Freedom is about recognizing what's yours and what isn't. And sleep comes when you finally, gratefully, release what was never yours to hold. Asterisk, this boundary between what we control and what we don't leads us into another profound realization, one discovered in twilight gardens where wisdom grew quietly. Seneca was wealthy beyond measure, advisor to emperors, owner of vast estates across the Roman world. Yet each evening he would retreat to a modest garden on the edge of his property, away from the marble columns and golden ornaments, away from the servants and the luxury. He would sit on a simple wooden bench among arbs and olive trees, watching the light fade, and he would practice what he called voluntary discomfort, reminding himself that none of this wealth was really his, that it could vanish tomorrow, that he was simply a temporary guardian of things that belonged to fortune. Asterisk, this wasn't pessimism, this was clarity, and in that clarity he found something that all his wealth couldn't purchase, a quiet mind, a mind that could rest. Asterisk, you don't need to own an estate to understand what Seneca discovered in that garden. You already know the feeling of mental clutter, of accumulation, of carrying too much. Not just physical possessions, though perhaps those too, but mental possessions, the should-haves and could-haves, the grudges and resentments, the plans and schemes, the identities and images you maintain, the expectations you carry, the roles you perform. All of it piled up like furniture in an overstuffed room, leaving no space to breathe, no space to rest. Asterisk, Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." He was talking about more than money. He meant thoughts, ambitions, desires, the endless accumulation of mental weight. You lie awake because your mind is overcrowded, not with problems, exactly, but with attachments, things you think you need, things you think you need, things you think you must have, things you believe will finally make you complete. Asterisk, but here's what Seneca understood in his garden as the stars emerged above him. You're already complete, right now, in this moment. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be achieved. Nothing needs to be different. The sense that something is missing, that you need more or better or different, that's the illusion that creates suffering. That's the thought that keeps you awake. Asterisk, imagine walking through a garden at dusk. The air is cool and still. Rosemary grows along the path, releasing its scent as you brush past. Fig trees spread their broad leaves overhead. A fountain trickles. Somewhere nearby, water falling gently over stone. The sky shifts from blue to purple to deep indigo. In this garden, there's nothing to achieve, nothing to acquire, nothing to prove. The garden doesn't try to be more than it is. The rosemary doesn't aspire to be a rose. The olive tree doesn't wish it were an oak. Everything simply is, exactly as it should be. Asterisk, this is the state Seneca cultivated each evening, not striving, not accumulating, not becoming, just being, just existing in the sufficiency of the present moment. He would inventory his day not to judge himself, but to practice letting go. What happened today that I'm still carrying? What attachment can I release? What expectation can I abandon? What mental possession can I set down? Asterisk, you can do this now. Scan through your mind and notice what you're holding on to. Perhaps it's an idea of how your life should look by now. Perhaps it's a grudge against someone who wronged you. Perhaps it's anxiety about maintaining a certain image or status. Perhaps it's the belief that you'll finally be happy when you achieve some future goal. Notice these things not as problems to solve, but as weights you're carrying voluntarily, like stones in your pockets. You can choose to keep carrying them, or you can choose to let them fall. Asterisk, Seneca discovered that most of what we carry serves no purpose, except to burden us. That grudge doesn't protect you, it exhausts you. That anxiety about your image doesn't improve you, it traps you. That craving for more doesn't motivate you, it ensures you're never satisfied. These mental possessions feel important, feel necessary, but they're just clutter. And clutter creates restlessness. Asterisk, in his letters, Seneca describes spending entire days in simplicity, eating plain bread, wearing rough clothing, sleeping on a hard mat, to remind himself that he could be happy with nothing. He wasn't rejecting comfort. He was liberating himself from dependence on it. He was proving to himself that peace doesn't come from having the right circumstances. Peace comes from wanting nothing more than what is. Asterisk, you don't need to sleep on a hard mat to understand this. You just need to notice, right now, what you think you need in order to be okay. Maybe you think you need tomorrow to go a certain way. Maybe you think you need someone's approval or love. Maybe you think you need to solve a problem before you can rest. Maybe you think you need to fall asleep quickly to get enough hours, to wake refreshed. All these needs, these requirements for okayness, they're weights in your pockets. Asterisk, what if you needed nothing? What if, right now, exactly as things are, was enough? Not perfect, not ideal, just enough. Your breath moving in and out enough, the darkness around you enough. This moment, with all its imperfection enough. The Stoics called this living in agreement with nature, which meant accepting what is without demanding it be different. Asterisk, feel into that possibility, not as something to achieve, but as something to recognize. You are enough. This moment is enough. Whatever happens tomorrow is enough. The garden doesn't worry about tomorrow's weather. It simply exists tonight, under tonight's sky, with tonight's temperature and tonight's breeze. And in that simple existence, there's profound peace. Asterisk, Seneca would sit on his bench as darkness gathered completely, and he would practice gratitude for what he could lose, grateful for health that might fail, grateful for wealth that might vanish, grateful for friends who might leave, grateful for life that will certainly end. This sounds strange, doesn't it? Being grateful for what's temporary. But that's exactly the point. When you recognize that everything is temporary, that nothing is truly yours to keep, you stop clinging so desperately. You hold things lightly. And holding things lightly allows you to rest. Asterisk, your eyes are growing heavier now. Your body is sinking deeper into softness. Like Seneca in his garden, You're discovering that peace doesn't come from having more, or being more, or doing more. Peace comes from releasing the belief that you need anything other than this breath, this moment, this quiet existence under the vast night sky. Asterisk, the garden of simplicity leads naturally to a more profound simplicity still, one that ancient philosophers found both terrifying and liberating. The Romans had a phrase they would whisper to victorious generals during triumph parades, even as crowds cheered and flowers rained down from balconies: memento mori. Remember that you will die. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? Almost cruel. Why? Remind someone of death in their moment of greatest glory. But the Stoics understood something that our modern world has forgotten. Remembering death isn't morbid. It's the key to living fully and sleeping peacefully. Asterisk, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think, not as a threat, but as a liberation, as a way of cutting through everything trivial, everything that pretends to be important but isn't. When you remember that your time is finite, that this breath might be your last, suddenly the argument you had today seems smaller. The embarrassment you're replaying seems less significant. The achievement you're anxious about seems less urgent. Death puts everything in perspective. Asterisk, but there's something even more profound here. Something that directly addresses why you're awake right now. Sleep is a kind of death, a temporary death. Each night you surrender consciousness. You release control. You let go of your grip on the world and allow yourself to disappear for hours. And if you're honest, part of what keeps you awake is fear of this surrender. Fear of letting go. Fear of the small death that sleep requires. Asterisk, the Stoics practiced thinking about death not to become depressed, but to become free. Free from the petty concerns that dominate most people's minds. Free from the fear that keeps us clinging to control. Free to live fully and free to rest completely. When you truly accept that death is natural, inevitable, and nothing to fear, then sleep becomes easy. Because what is sleep but death's gentle rehearsal? What is falling asleep but practicing the ultimate letting go? Asterisk, imagine yourself lying in a field at night, far from any city. The grass is soft beneath you. The sky stretches infinite above, scattered with countless stars. These stars have been here for billions of years. They'll be here for billions more. Your life, in comparison, is a single heartbeat, a flash, a brief spark, not insignificant. Spark matters in its moment, but temporary. Beautifully, perfectly temporary. Asterisk, the ancient Stoics would contemplate this vastness regularly. Seneca wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." But he also wrote, "How late it is to begin truly." Living just when life must end. He wanted people to wake up to their mortality, not in old age, but now, today, this moment. Because when you remember you're going to die, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop lying awake worrying about things that, from the perspective of eternity, are utterly inconsequential. Asterisk, what are you worrying about right now? Bring it to mind. Now imagine yourself at the end of your life, looking back. Will this worry matter then? Will you wish you'd spent more time anxious about it? Or will you wish you'd simply lived, simply rested, simply trusted that things would unfold as they were meant to unfold? The perspective of your deathbed is available to you right now. You don't have to wait until you're dying to see clearly. Marcus would practice this perspective daily. He would imagine his death, not in a fearful way, but as a natural event, like the sun setting. He would picture himself old, life completed, ready to return to the elements. And from that perspective, he would ask, what really matters today? What's truly worth my energy? Almost everything fell away. What remained was simple. Live with virtue. Be kind. Be honest. Be courageous. Do what's right. And let the rest go. This practice has an immediate effect on sleep. When you recognize that you're going to die, that your time is limited, you stop. Holding on to the day so desperately, you'll stop needing to solve every problem tonight. You'll stop requiring tomorrow to go a certain way, because you understand deeply that control is an illusion, that life is happening on its own schedule, not yours, that you're a participant in something vast and mysterious, not the author of it. Sleep requires this same surrender. You cannot force yourself to sleep. You cannot control the moment consciousness fades. You can only create conditions and then let go, trusting that your body knows what to do, trusting that unconsciousness will come when it's ready, trusting that you'll wake again if you're meant to. This is exactly the same trust that accepting death requires. Trust in the process. Trust in nature. Trust in something larger than your small will. Think of it this way. Every night of your life, you've practiced dying. You've released consciousness. You've let go of control. You've disappeared into darkness. And every morning, you've returned. Not because you made it happen, but because that's the rhythm of life. Waking and sleeping, being and not being, consciousness and unconsciousness, life and death. These aren't opposites fighting each other, they're partners in a dance. The Stoics saw death not as an ending, but as a return. You came from nature, from atoms and elements and cosmic dust. You'll return to nature. In between, you have this brief moment of consciousness, this tiny window to experience existence. Why would you spend it worrying? Why would you spend it clinging? Why would you spend it lying awake, trying to control what cannot be controlled? Your breath is slowing now. Your body is remembering what it knows, that letting go is safe. That surrender is natural, that the small death of sleep is nothing to fear. In fact, it's a gift, a nightly reminder that you don't have to carry the burden of consciousness every moment. That rest is built into the fabric of existence, that nature provides relief. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. And in remembering, find freedom. Freedom from the trivial. Freedom from the anxious. Freedom from the need to control. Freedom to simply exist in this moment, breathing in the darkness, trusting the ancient rhythm that has carried every human being who ever lived into sleep and death, and the peaceful return to where we all began. This acceptance of mortality, this friendship with impermanence, opens the door to a practice the Stoics performed each night, a practice that transforms how we hold the day. Every evening, as the Roman world settled into darkness, Stoic practitioners would perform a ritual that required neither temple nor priest, neither incense nor prayer. They would simply sit with themselves and review the day that had passed. Not to judge it, not to fix it, but to see it clearly, acknowledge it honestly, and then release it completely. This practice, which they called the evening examination, is perhaps the most practical tool philosophy ever created for peaceful sleep. Seneca described it in a letter to Lucilius. I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. Then he wrote something crucial. Why should I fear any of my errors when I'm able to say, see that you don't do it again, but now I forgive you. This is the key. The examination isn't about guilt or shame or endless analysis. It's about honest acknowledgement followed by complete release. Asterisk, you're lying here right now with the day still clinging to you. Moments replay in your mind like a film stuck on repeat. The conversation that went wrong, the email you shouldn't have sent, the opportunity you missed, the way you snapped at someone you love, or perhaps the opposite moments of pride that you're reliving, trying to hold on to the feeling, trying to make it last. Either way, you're still carrying the day. And carrying prevents sleeping. Asterisk, the Stoic evening review follows a simple structure. One you can practice right now in the darkness. First, you recall the day without judgment. Just the facts. You woke, you did certain things. You said certain words. You felt certain emotions. You made certain choices. No interpretation yet. No story about what it means. Just what happened, as neutrally as you might describe a movie you watched. Asterisk, take a moment and scan back through your day. Not every detail, but the broad strokes. Morning happened. Afternoon unfolded. Evening arrived. And now night. Within those hours, you moved through various scenes, played various roles, experienced various moments. Some pleasant, some difficult, some completely ordinary. Just notice them, like watching clouds drift past. This happened, then that happened, then this. Asterisk, now comes the second step, and this is where the practice becomes powerful. You ask yourself 3 questions. First, what did I do well today? Not to inflate your ego, but to acknowledge where you aligned with your values, where you showed up as your best self, where virtue appeared in your actions. Maybe you were patient when you wanted to be reactive. Maybe you were honest when lying. Would have been easier. Maybe you were kind when you felt irritated. Notice these moments. Really see them. They matter. Asterisk, second question. What could I have done better? This isn't self-flagellation. This is learning. Where did you act from fear instead of courage? Where did you choose comfort over integrity? Where did you let your values slip? Again, just notice. No punishment required. You're not a bad person for making mistakes. You're a human being learning how to live. The Stoics believed every error was an opportunity to grow wiser. So observe your missteps with curiosity, not cruelty. Asterisk, third question. What did I miss? What opportunities for virtue passed by unnoticed? Where could you have been more present, more generous, more alive? Sometimes our greatest failures aren't in doing wrong things, but in missing chances to do right things. Moments to connect, moments to help, moments to simply be aware. See these gaps not as condemnations, but as invitations for tomorrow. Asterisk, Marcus Aurelius was particularly honest in his self-examination. He would note when he'd been impatient with advisors, when he'd indulged in too much food, when he'd wasted time on trivial matters. but he never dwelt in shame. He would observe these things, understand why they happened, commit to doing better, and then this is crucial, he would let them go. Completely, the examination was complete. The day was finished. Forgiveness granted. Door closed. This is where most people go wrong. They examine their day, they see their mistakes, and then they carry those mistakes into the night. They rehearse better versions. They imagine different outcomes. They create elaborate fantasies of redemption or revenge. But this isn't examination anymore, this is torture. The Stoics examine to release, not to retain. Imagine washing your hands at the end of a long day. You see the dirt, you acknowledge it, you'll clean it away, and then it's gone. You don't keep washing. You don't feel guilty about the dirt. You don't replay how the dirt got there. You simply wash and move on. The evening examination is exactly this. You see the day, you acknowledge what happened, you learn what you can, you forgive yourself, and then you wash it away. Your breath is deepening as you practice this. The day is becoming lighter, less sticky, less demanding. Whatever happened today, good or bad, right or wrong, successful or failed, it's complete now. You extracted its lessons. You acknowledged its reality. Now it can be released back into the past where it belongs. There's something profoundly liberating about this practice. It means you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get everything right. You just have to be honest with yourself, willing to learn and capable of forgiveness. The Stoics understood that growth doesn't come from harsh self-judgment. It comes from clear seeing followed by compassionate release. As you lie herein darkness, your mind is already beginning to understand what your body has known all along. The day is over. You participated in it as well as you could with the wisdom you had available. Some moments were beautiful, some were clumsy, some were completely ordinary. All of them are finished now. They exist only in memory, and memory has no claim on this present moment unless you give it one. Seneca wrote, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately, not recklessly, but fully. And you cannot live immediately if you're still dwelling in the hours that have already passed." The evening examination allows you to honor the day, learn from the day, and then place the day behind you. Completed, forgiven, released. Feel your shoulders settling deeper into the surface beneath you. Feel your jaw unclenching slightly. Feel the weight of the day lifting, dissolving, flowing away like water down a stream. You did what you did. It's done. Tomorrow we'll ask things of you, and you'll respond as best you can. But tonight requires nothing except this breath, this moment, this gentle descent into rest. This practice of examining and releasing opens us to understanding how the Stoics themselves struggled with sleepless nights, and what they discovered in those dark hours. Chrysippus, the third head of the Stoic school in Athens, was known for his brilliant mind and his impossible work ethic. He wrote over 700 book scrolls and scrolls of dense philosophical reasoning, logic, puzzles, arguments about virtue and nature and the structure of reality. His students marveled at his productivity, but what they didn't know, what he rarely mentioned, was that many of those words were written in the depths of night, during hours when sleep refused to come. He would lie on his simple bed in Athens, listening to dogs bark in distant streets, watching shadows shift across his ceiling, and his mind would race through logical problems like a chariot driver unable to stop the horses. If all things are determined by fate, does human choice exist? If virtue is the only good, what about health and wealth? If the universe is rational, why does suffering exist? Question after question, chain after chain of reasoning, until dawn crept through his window and another sleepless night had passed. Asterisk, but here's what's remarkable. Chrysippus didn't view these sleepless nights as failures. He viewed them as opportunities. He would rise, light his oil lamp, and write. He transformed his insomnia into philosophy. His racing thoughts became his life's work. And gradually, through this process, he discovered something that would eventually cure his sleeplessness. The problem wasn't the thoughts themselves. The problem was his relationship with them. Asterisk, you might recognize this pattern. Your mind races. So you try to use it productively. You make mental lists. You solve problems. You plan tomorrow. You write emails in your head. You compose conversations you'll never have. And all of this feels useful, feels important, feels like you're at least accomplishing something with your wakefulness. But you're actually training your mind to associate nighttime with activity. You're teaching it that bed is a place for thinking, not sleeping. Asterisk, Cleanthus, Chrysippus's teacher, took a different approach to sleepless nights. He was poor, working as a water carrier during the day to support his philosophical studies. By the time he could attend evening lectures, he was exhausted. Yet sometimes exhaustion wasn't enough. His body ached for sleep, but his mind churned. With the ideas he'd heard, the questions raised, the concepts not yet understood. So he developed a practice that seemed counterintuitive. He would stop trying to think clearly. Asterisk, instead of engaging with his thoughts. Instead of trying to solve philosophical problems, he would simply observe them. He would lie still and watch. His mind the way you might watch a busy street from a window, thoughts passing like pedestrians, some moving quickly, some lingering, some colliding with each other, some disappearing around corners. But he, the observer, remained separate from the traffic, not trying to direct it, not trying to stop it, just watching. Asterisk, this practice, which much later would be called mindfulness, allowed Cleanthus to transform his relationship with sleepless nights. The thoughts didn't stop. The mind didn't become silent, but he stopped fighting. And in stopping the fight, he found a kind of rest, even in wakefulness. Sometimes he would lie awake for hours, simply observing, and discover in the morning that he felt somehow restored despite minimal sleep. The rest came not from unconsciousness, but from non-resistance. Asterisk, you can practice this right now. Notice that your mind is producing thoughts. That's what minds do. They generate content constantly, like your heart generates beats, or your lungs generate breaths. You don't get angry at your heart for beating. You don't fight your lungs for breathing. Why fight your mind for thinking? Instead, just notice, there's a thought about tomorrow. There's a worry about that conversation. There's a plan forming. There's a memory surfacing. Just name them gently and let them pass. Asterisk, the Stoics discovered something profound through their struggles with sleep. The thoughts aren't the problem. Your resistance to the thoughts is the problem. When you lie awake thinking I shouldn't be, thinking I need to sleep, you've created a war. And in war, nobody rests. But when you lie awake thinking my mind is active tonight, and that's okay, something shifts. The urgency dissolves. The panic fades. And often, paradoxically, sleep comes. Asterisk Chrysippus eventually learned this lesson. Later in his life, his students noticed he seemed more rested, more peaceful, despite working just as hard. When asked how he'd cured his insomnia, he said something curious. I stopped trying to cure it. I made friends with wakefulness. I accepted that some nights sleep wouldn't come, and in that acceptance, sleep began returning. He'd spent years fighting his mind, trying to control it, trying to force silence. Once he surrendered that fight, his mind finally quieted on its own. Asterisk, there's a story about Cleanthes that illustrates this beautifully. One night, unable to sleep, he went for a walk through Athens. The city was dark and silent. As he walked past the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch where Stoics gathered during the day, he heard water dripping. A crack in the aqueduct above was releasing drops, one by one, onto the marble below. Drip, 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 steady, rhythmic, endless. Asterisk, he stood there watching, and suddenly understood. The water didn't try to drip. It didn't resist dripping. It simply dripped according to its nature. And the marble didn't try to receive the drops. It didn't resist being wet. It simply was what it was. Neither the water nor the stone suffered from the situation. They simply existed in their natural state. Why should his mind be any different? Why should he suffer from thoughts, when thoughts were simply his mind being what minds are, generators of content? Asterisk, your mind right now is dripping thoughts. That's its nature. Your consciousness is the marble receiving them. You don't have to do anything except be what you are, the space where thoughts appear and disappear. Drip, 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 thought, thought, thought. Let them come, let them go, like water. Finding its level, your mind will eventually settle into stillness. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped forcing it. Asterisk, as you rest here. As your breathing continues its ancient rhythm, you're learning what Chrysippus and Cleanthes learned through their long nights. Sleeplessness isn't your enemy. Your fight against sleeplessness is your enemy. The thoughts aren't the problem. Your demand that they stop is the problem. And the cure isn't found in controlling your mind, but in befriending it. Asterisk, this understanding of our relationship with thoughts leads us to explore their very nature, the temperature and texture of the mental weather we create. The Stoics had a curious way of talking about emotions and thoughts. They called them impressions, phantasai, in Greek, like seals pressed into warm wax. An event happens in the world, and it creates an impression in your mind. But here's the crucial part they understood. The impression itself is neutral. It's what you do with it next that creates heat or cold, pleasure or pain, peace or turmoil. Asterisk, imagine holding an ice cube in your hand. The ice cube has a temperature, it's subjectively cold. But your experience of that coldness depends entirely on context. If you've been working in summer heat, the ice feels wonderful, refreshing, exactly what you need. If you've been shivering in winter, the same ice feels painful, unwelcome, something to avoid. The ice hasn't changed. Your relationship to it has changed. Asterisk, your thoughts work the same way. Right now, a thought about tomorrow might be visiting your mind. That thought has no inherent temperature. It's not hot or cold, good or bad, peaceful or disturbing. It's just information. Tomorrow I have a meeting. That's all it is. But then you add heat to it. What if I'm not prepared? What if I say something wrong? What if they judge me? Now the thought burns. Or you add coldness. I don't want to go. It will be boring. I'll have to pretend to care. Now the thought feels heavy, draining, like ice in your chest. Marcus Aurelius wrote one of the most powerful sentences in all of philosophy. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Read that again, slowly. The pain isn't in the thing. It's in your estimate, your judgment, your added heat or coldness, and you can revoke it. You can stop adding temperature to neutral events. You're lying here because some thought has become too hot or too cold to hold. A worry has become burning anxiety. A concern has become freezing dread. A possibility has become scorching fear. But the original thoughts, the simple fact beneath all that temperature, is probably quite neutral. I have to wake up tomorrow. That's not inherently distressing. Someone might be upset with me. That's not inherently painful. Things are uncertain. That's not inherently frightening. The distress comes from what you've added. The Stoic practice is to notice when you're adding temperature and gently remove it. Return to the bare fact. Strip away the judgment. See the impression without the emotion you've attached to it. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means seeing clearly. And in clear seeing, peace becomes possible. Think of your mind as a thermostat. Throughout the day, events happen, someone says something goes wrong, something succeeds, something disappoints. Each event is like a room you enter, and your mind immediately adjusts the temperature. This person criticized me, turn up the heat, make it burn, make it mean something terrible about me. This opportunity emerged, turn up the heat differently. Make it urgent, make my happiness depend on it. This problem appeared, freeze it, make it insurmountable, make it proof that life is hard. But what if you could walk into each room and simply notice the actual temperature, without adjusting it? What if you could experience each impression without immediately making it hotter or colder than it naturally is? This is what the Stoics practiced. They called it assenting or not assenting to impressions. The impression appears before you assent to it, before you agree with the story it's telling. You pause. You examine it. Is this actually true? Is this temperature necessary? Your mind is offering you a thought right now. I should be asleep by now. Notice it. That's the impression. Now notice what temperature you're adding. Are you heating it into panic? Oh no, I'll be exhausted tomorrow. Everything will be terrible. Are you freezing it into depression? I can never sleep. I'm broken. Nothing helps. Or can you simply let it remain neutral? I'm awake right now. That's what's happening. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. Epictetus taught his students a simple exercise. When something happens, before you react, say to yourself, this is just an impression. It's not the thing itself. Someone insults you, that's just an impression your mind has formed from sounds in the air. You don't have to heat it into rage or freeze it into hurt. It's just vibrations interpreted by your ears, processed by your brain, presented to your consciousness. What you do with it next is entirely up to you. Asterisk the same applies to thoughts in the night. A worry appears. That's just an impression. Your mind has formed a picture of a possible future. The future hasn't happened. The picture isn't real. It's surreal. It's just mental activity, no more substantial than a dream, no more solid than smoke. You can add Heath, this worry is urgent, important, demands my attention now. Or you can simply notice this is an impression, a mental event. It will pass like all mental events pass. Asterisk, imagine sitting by a fireplace. You can throw logs on the fire, make it roar and crackle and fill the room with heat. Or you can let the fire die down naturally to glowing embers, gentle and warm. Your thoughts are like that fire. You've been throwing logs on it all day, keeping it burning bright and hot. Now, in the darkness, it's time to let it die down. Stop adding fuel. Stop adding temperature. Just let the natural cooling happen. Asterisk, feel your body releasing heat as you understand this. Your muscles have been holding tension that's added temperature. Your breath has been shallow, more added heat. Your jaw has been clenched still more. Now, gradually, the unnecessary heat is dissipating. Not because you're forcing it away, but because you've stopped adding fuel. You've stopped agreeing with the thoughts that demand urgency, that insist on panic, that create false heat. Asterisk, the Stoics notice something remarkable. Most of our suffering comes from added temperature. The bare facts of life, we have bodies. That age, we face challenges, we interact with difficult people, we lose things we love, we eventually die. These facts are neither hot nor cold. They're just the temperature of existence, but we heat them into tragedies. We freeze them into disasters. We make them unbearable through our own additions. Asterisk, what if you could experience life at its natural temperature? Not cold and unfeeling, but not artificially heated either. Just the actual temperature of what is. This meeting tomorrow, it's neither burning nor freezing. It's just a meeting. This problem you're facing, it's neither catastrophic nor trivial. It's just a problem. This moment of wakefulness, it's neither failure nor disaster. It's just a moment. Asterisk, your breath continues. Steady and cool. Your body rests, releasing its grip on added heat. And your mind, slowly, gradually, begins to understand that it doesn't have to work so hard. It doesn't have to make everything hotter or colder than it naturally is. It can simply let things be the temperature they are. And in that allowance, in that acceptance of natural temperature, something like peace begins to emerge. Asterisk, this understanding of how we heat and cool our own experience leads us deeper still, into harmony with something larger than our personal temperature controls. The ancient Stoics had a phrase that appeared in nearly every text, every letter, every teaching, living in agreement with nature. To modern ears, this might sound like advice to go camping or eat organic vegetables, but they meant something far more profound. Something that speaks directly to why you're awake right now instead of peacefully asleep. Asterisk, nature, to the Stoics, wasn't just trees and rivers. Nature was the fundamental order of things, the way reality actually works, as opposed to how we wish it worked. The patterns and rhythms and laws that govern existence, gravity, seasons, growth, and decay, cause and effect, the need for rest. To live in agreement with nature meant to align yourself with these patterns rather than constantly fighting them. It meant flowing with the current of reality rather than exhausting yourself swimming against it. Asterisk right now. Your body knows it's nighttime. Every cell understands this. Your circadian rhythm, evolved over millions of years, recognizes the absence of light. Your temperature has dropped slightly. Your metabolism has slowed. Certain hormones are being released while others are being suppressed. Your body is doing exactly what nature designed it to do when darkness falls. Prepare for rest. This is natural. This is the ancient rhythm that every human being who has ever lived has followed. Asterisk, but your mind is arguing with nature. Your mind is saying, I can't rest yet. There's too much to think about. I need to solve this problem. I need to control tomorrow. I need to stay vigilant. Your mind is trying to override millions of years of evolutionary wisdom with its own anxious agenda. And this disagreement between your body's natural rhythm and your mind's resistance, this is what creates the suffering of sleeplessness. Asterisk, imagine a river flowing to the sea. It doesn't worry about whether it will arrive. It doesn't plan its route or rehearse its journey. It simply flows, following gravity, following the natural shape of the land, moving around obstacles without resistance. When it encounters a rock, it doesn't stop and fret about the rock. It simply flows around it. When the path narrows, it doesn't panic. It flows faster. When the path widens, it flows slower. The river is in perfect agreement with nature because it has no choice but to be. It is nature. Asterisk, you are also nature. Your body is made of the same elements as stars and oceans. The same forces that move planets through space move blood through your veins. The same rhythms that cause tides to rise and fall cause you to wake and sleep. You aren't separate from nature, observing it from outside. You are nature observing itself. And nature is trying to sleep right now. Nature is tired. Nature is ready. But something in you, some learnt anxiety, some cultivated fear is disagreeing. Asterisk, the Stoics would ask, what makes you think you know better than nature? What makes you think your worried planning is wiser than the ancient rhythm that has successfully put billions of humans to sleep for hundreds of thousands of years? Your body knows how to sleep. It's been doing it since you were born. You don't have to teach it. You don't have to control it. You just have to stop interfering with it. Asterisk, Marcus Aurelius wrote, everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to you, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which comes in due time for you. He was practicing surrender to the natural order, not passive resignation, but active alignment. If the universe says it's time to sleep, then it's time to sleep. If the universe says this thought is arising, then let it arise. If the universe says rest is needed, then rest is needed. Who are you to argue with the universe? Asterisk, feel the wisdom of your body right now. Notice how your eyes want to close. How your breathing wants to deepen. How your muscles want to release. How your mind wants to drift. These aren't failures or weaknesses. These are nature expressing itself through you. These are the same forces that put birds to sleep in trees, and cats to sleep in sunbeams, and wolves to sleep in dens. This is the ancient wisdom that existed long before human anxiety, long before human worry, long before human attempts to control the uncontrollable. Asterisk, there's a beautiful Stoic teaching about seeds. If you plant a seed in good soil and provide water and sunlight, you don't have to make it grow. You don't have to force the roots down or pull the shoot up. Growth happens naturally because that's what seeds do. Your interference would only harm the process. All you can do is create conditions and then trust nature to do what nature does. Sleep is the same. You can create conditions: darkness, quiet, comfortable temperature, relaxed body. But you cannot make sleep happen. Sleep happens naturally when conditions are right and when you stop interfering. Your worry about whether your sleep is interference. Your planning and thinking and problem solving is interference. Your checking the time and calculating hours remaining is interference. All of this is you trying to control what only nature can do. The Stoics spent time observing natural cycles to understand this principle. They watched how day becomes night without effort, how winter becomes spring without force, how the moon waxes and wanes without concern. They noticed that nature doesn't rush, yet everything gets accomplished. Trees don't panic about growing, they simply grow. Rivers don't worry about reaching the ocean, they simply flow. And humans don't need to worry about sleeping. They simply need to stop blocking it. Your resistance to what is creates a dam in the river. Energy backs up behind the dam. Pressure builds. This is the feeling of insomnia, the absence of sleep, but the presence of resistance. When you release the resistance, when you stop demanding that this moment be different, when you align yourself with the natural rhythm of wakefulness and sleep, the dam breaks, the river flows, the pressure releases. Lie here and practice agreement. Your body wants to rest, agree with it. Your mind is producing thoughts, agree with it. The night is dark and quiet, agree with it. You're awake right now, agree with it. Tomorrow will come, agree with it. You cannot control exactly when sleep arrives, agree with it. Everything is unfolding according to nature's pattern, not your preference, agree with it. This doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in. Giving in to the wisdom that's older and deeper than your anxiety. Giving in to the rhythm that has successfully cycled day and night since the earth began spinning. Giving in to the same force that grows your hair and heals your cuts and digests your food without any conscious effort from you. That force knows how to sleep. It's trying to sleep right now. You're just in the way. The Stoics called this living in agreement with nature. We might call it trust. Trust that your body knows what to do. Trust that sleep will come when it's ready. Trust that nature hasn't forgotten how to put you to rest. Trust that the same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of galaxies can certainly handle the simple task of closing your eyes and quieting your mind. As you soften into this trust, as you release your grip on control, you're discovering what it means to truly agree with nature. And in that agreement, you're finding your way back to the ancient rhythm that has always been waiting for you. The ancient Stoics had a phrase that appeared in nearly every text, every letter, every teaching: living in agreement with nature. To modern ears, this might sound like advice to go camping or eat organic vegetables, but they meant something far more profound, something that speaks directly to why you're awake right now instead of peacefully asleep. Nature, to the Stoics, wasn't just trees and rivers. Nature was the fundamental order of things, the way reality actually works, as opposed to how we wish it worked. The patterns and rhythms and laws that govern existence: gravity, seasons, growth and decay, cause and effect, the need for rest. To live in agreement with nature meant to align yourself with these patterns rather than constantly fighting them. It meant flowing with the current of reality rather than exhausting yourself swimming against it. Asterisk right now. Your body knows it's nighttime. Every cell understands this. Your circadian rhythm, evolved over millions of years, recognizes the absence of light. Your temperature has dropped slightly. Your metabolism has slowed. Certain hormones are being released while others are being suppressed. Your body is doing exactly what nature designed it to do when darkness falls. Prepare for rest. This is natural. This is the ancient rhythm that every human being who has ever lived has followed. Asterisk. But your mind is arguing with nature. Your mind is saying, I can't rest yet. There's too much to think about. I need to solve this problem. I need to control tomorrow. I need to stay vigilant. Your mind is trying to override millions of years of evolutionary wisdom with its own anxious agenda. And this disagreement between your body's natural rhythm and your mind's resistance, this is what creates the suffering of sleeplessness. Asterisk, imagine a river flowing to the sea. It doesn't worry about whether it will arrive. It doesn't plan its route or rehearse its journey. It simply flows, following gravity, following the natural shape of the land, moving around obstacles without resistance. When it encounters a rock, it doesn't stop and fret about the rock. It simply flows around it. When the path narrows, it doesn't panic. It flows faster. When the path widens, it flows slower. The river is in perfect agreement with nature because it has no choice but to be. It is nature. Asterisk, you are also nature. Your body is made of the same elements as stars and oceans. The same forces that move planets through space move blood through your veins. The same rhythms that cause tides to rise and fall cause you to wake and sleep. You aren't separate from nature, observing it from outside. You are nature, observing itself. And nature is trying to sleep right now. Nature is tired. Nature is ready. But something in you, some learned anxiety, some cultivated fear is disagreeing. Asterisk, the Stoics would ask, what makes you think you know better than nature? What makes you think your worried planning is wiser than the ancient rhythm that has successfully put billions of humans to sleep for hundreds of thousands of years? Your body knows how to sleep. It's been doing it since you were born. You don't have to teach it. You don't have to control it. You just have to stop interfering with it. Asterisk, Marcus Aurelius wrote, everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to you, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which comes in due time for you. He was practicing surrender to the natural order, not passive resignation, but active alignment. If the universe says it's time to sleep, then it's time to sleep. If the universe says this thought is arising, then let it arise. If the universe says rest is needed, then rest is needed. Who are you to argue with the universe? Asterisk, feel the wisdom of your body right now. Notice how your eyes want to close. How your breathing wants to deepen. How your muscles want to release. How your mind wants to drift. These aren't failures or weaknesses. These are nature expressing itself through you. These are the same forces that put birds to sleep in trees and cats to sleep in sunbeams and wolves to sleep in dens. This is the ancient wisdom that existed long before human anxiety, long before human worry, long before human attempts to control the uncontrollable. Asterisk, there's a beautiful Stoic teaching about seeds. If you plant a seed in good soil and provide water and sunlight, You don't have to make it grow. You don't have to force the roots down or pull the shoot up. Growth happens naturally because that's what seeds do. Your interference would only harm the process. All you can do is create conditions and then trust nature to do what nature does. Sleep is the same. You can create conditions: darkness, quiet, comfortable temperature, relaxed body, but you cannot make sleep happen. Sleep happens naturally when conditions are right and when you stop interfering. Your worry about whether your sleep is interference. Your planning and thinking and problem solving is interference. Your checking the time and calculating hours remaining is interference. All of this is you trying to control what only nature. They watched how day becomes night without effort, how winter becomes spring without force, how the moon waxes and wanes without concern. Rivers don't worry about reaching the ocean. They simply flow. And humans don't need to worry about sleeping. They simply need to stop blocking it. Your resistance to what is creates a dam in the river. Energy backs up behind the dam. Pressure builds. This is the feeling of insomnia, the absence of sleep, but the presence of resistance. When you release the resistance, when you stop demanding that this moment be different, when you align yourself with the natural rhythm of wakefulness and sleep, the dam breaks, the river flows, the pressure releases. Lie here and practice agreement. Your body wants to rest, agree with it. Your mind is producing thoughts, agree with it. The night is dark and quiet, agree with it. You're awake right now, agree with it. Tomorrow will come, agree with it. You cannot control exactly when sleep arrives, agree with it. Everything is unfolding according to nature's pattern, not your preference, agree with it. This doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in. Giving in to the wisdom that's older and deeper than your anxiety. Giving in to the rhythm that has successfully cycled day and night since the earth began spinning. Giving in to the same force that grows your hair and heals your cuts and digests your food without any conscious effort from you. That force knows how to sleep. It's trying to sleep right now. You're just in the way. The Stoics called this living in agreement with nature. We might call it trust. Trust that your body knows what to do. Trust that sleep will come when it's ready. Trust that nature hasn't forgotten how to put you to rest. Trust that the same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of galaxies can certainly handle the simple task of closing your eyes and quieting your mind. As you soften into this trust, as you release your grip on control, you're discovering what it means to truly agree with nature. And in that agreement, you're finding your way back to the ancient rhythm that has always been waiting for you. There's a moment that comes to everyone who studies Stoic philosophy deeply, a moment when all the separate teachings suddenly converge into one unified understanding. The dichotomy of control, the evening review, memento mori, living in agreement. With nature, the view from above, they're not different lessons. They're different angles on the same ultimate truth. And that truth is so simple, it sounds almost disappointing when you first hear it. Accept what is. But wait. Stay with this. Because acceptance, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean resignation or passivity or giving up. It means something far more powerful. It means recognizing reality as it actually is, without the distortions of your preferences, your fears, your demands for it to be different. It means seeing clearly, and in clear seeing, wisdom arises naturally. Marcus Aurelius spent his life arriving at this understanding. Emperor of Rome, the most powerful person in the known world, yet he wrote again and again about acceptance. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. He could have written tolerate or endure or bear, but he wrote accept and love. This is active, not passive. This is embracing what is, not just suffering through it. You're lying here right now in a particular situation. Maybe your mind is still active. Maybe your body is uncomfortable. Maybe tomorrow looms with challenges. Maybe you're disappointed with yourself for not sleeping yet. Whatever is present, thoughts, sensations, emotions, circumstances. This is your reality right now, not the reality you wish for, not the reality you deserve, or the reality that should be. This reality, the one that actually exists. The Stoics discovered that suffering comes from one source, wanting reality to be different than it is. You suffer not because you're awake, but because you want to be asleep. You suffer not because thoughts are present, but because you want them absent. You suffer not because tomorrow holds challenges, but because you want it to hold ease. The gap between what is and what you want creates the suffering. Close the gap and suffering dissolves. But how do you close the gap? Not by making reality. Match your preferences. That's usually impossible. You close the gap by bringing your preferences into alignment with reality. This sounds like defeat. It feels like giving up. But it's actually the opposite. It's liberation. It's the end of the exhausting war between how things are and how you think they should be. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "The wise man looks upon everything that happens as though he himself had wished it so." Read that carefully. Not that he pretends to like it. Not that he convinces himself it's good, but that he receives it as though he had chosen it. As though this moment, exactly this circumstance, was what he wanted. This is a more forte love of fate, not tolerance of fate, not acceptance of fate, love of fate. Imagine if you loved your wakefulness right now. Not pretended to love it, but genuinely received it as a gift. Yes, wakefulness. This is what's happening. This is my experience right now. How interesting. No resistance, no complaint, no demand for it to be different. Just openness to what is. In that openness, the struggle ends. And often, paradoxically, when the struggle ends, sleep comes. Because sleep doesn't arrive through force. It arrives through surrender. The ultimate Stoic teaching is this: virtue is the only good. Not pleasure, not success, not health, not sleep, not anything external. Virtue a character, your integrity, your response to circumstances. That's the only thing that's truly good. Everything else is indifferent, preferred, perhaps, but not good or bad in themselves. You can be virtuous whether you're rich or poor, healthy or sick, sleeping or awake. Virtue is the one thing that's completely up to you and completely sufficient for a good life. This is radical. This means that right now, lying awake, you can still live well. You can still be virtuous. You can still have a good life. Not a comfortable life, perhaps. Not an easy life, but a good life, in the deepest sense a life lived with integrity, courage, wisdom, and kindness. Your wakefulness doesn't prevent that. Your circumstances don't prevent that. Only your own choices can prevent that. Feel the freedom in this. You don't need sleep to be okay. You don't need tomorrow to go well to be okay. You don't need anything external to be okay. You just need to respond to whatever happens with virtue. That's all. That's the entire requirement for a good life. Everything else, sleep, success, comfort, pleasure, these are bonuses. Nice when they come, not devastating when they don't. Because they were never the source of your okayness anyway. Marcus was dying when he wrote his final passages. The great emperor, facing death, wrote, "Death smiles at us all. All we can do is smile back." He didn't rage. He didn't despair. He didn't beg for more time. He accepted what was coming with grace, with dignity, with virtue. If he could accept death, the ultimate loss of control, the ultimate insurer, you can accept a night of wakefulness. Surely you can accept thoughts that won't quiet. Surely you can accept uncertainty about tomorrow. This acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring. You still prefer sleep to wakefulness. You still prefer ease to difficulty. You're human, but you hold these preferences lightly. You don't collapse into suffering when reality doesn't match them. You remain centered, calm, virtuous, regardless of circumstances. This is wisdom. This is the ultimate Stoic achievement. This is what all those ancient philosophers were pointing toward. Your breathing has become very soft now, very gentle. Your body understands what your mind is beginning to grasp. This moment is enough. You are enough. Whatever is happening is workable, not because it's comfortable or easy or what you wanted, but because you have everything you need to respond. With virtue, you have your integrity, your courage, your wisdom, your capacity for kindness. These don't depend on sleep or success or circumstances. These are yours, always. Regardless, the Stoics taught that wisdom culminates in a single attitude, grateful acceptance of everything that happens. Grateful because you're alive to experience it. Grateful because it's an opportunity to practice. Virtue. Grateful because it's part of the vast pattern of existence, and you're privileged to participate in that pattern. Even difficult moments. Even painful moments. Even moments of wakefulness when you desperately want sleep. As you lie here, softer now, more accepting, you're embodying the wisdom of centuries. You're practicing what Marcus and Seneca and Epictetus practiced. You're learning that peace doesn't come from getting what you want. Peace comes from wanting what you get. Peace comes from saying yes to reality. Peace comes from recognizing that this moment, exactly as it is, no change is required, is perfectly acceptable. Not perfect, just acceptable, just workable, just enough. And in that acceptance, in that fundamental yes to what is, the deepest rest becomes possible. Not the rest of unconsciousness necessarily, but the rest of non-resistance, the rest of alignment with reality, the rest of finally, gratefully, peacefully letting everything be exactly as it is. There's a word in ancient Greek that appears throughout Stoic text, soax. It means tranquility, but not the tranquility of a quiet room or a peaceful day. It means the tranquility of a mind that has stopped fighting, a mind that has released its grip, a mind that rests in profound acceptance, regardless of what's happening outside or even inside. This is the state the philosophers sought. Not perfect circumstances, but perfect peace within any circumstances. And you're touching it right now. Feel how different this moment is from an hour ago, or however long ago you began this journey. Tonight, the circumstances haven't changed. You're still lying in the same bed. Your responsibilities tomorrow are the same. The world is the same, but something in you has shifted. Some quality of resistance has softened. Some urgent grasping has loosened. You've remembered something ancient, something that lives deeper than your anxious thoughts. You've remembered how to rest. The Stoics believed that philosophy wasn't just something to study, it was something to live, to breathe, to practice until it became as natural as walking. And the ultimate practice, the one that integrated everything else, was simply this: being present with what is, without judgment, without demand, without the constant commentary that usually fills our minds. Just this breath, just this moment, just this exactly as Sighter's experience of being alive. Zeno, who founded Stoicism over 2,000 years ago, was a merchant who lost everything in a shipwreck, standing on the shore with nothing but his life. He wandered into Athens and found a bookshop. There he discovered philosophy. Later he said, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." The loss of everything external led him to discover what couldn't be lost: wisdom, virtue, inner peace. Your sleepless nights might be your shipwreck. Your anxiety might be the storm that brings you to shore. And on that shore, you're discovering what can't be taken away. The teaching isn't complicated. It's been the same from the beginning. You are not your circumstances. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness in which all of these arise and pass away, like the sky that holds all weather storms and sunshine. Clouds and clarity, but is never damaged by any of it, never fundamentally changed. You are that sky, vast, spacious, unchanging at your deepest level. Your thoughts about tomorrow are like clouds drifting through your awareness. Let them drift. Your worries about sleep are like clouds. Let them drift. Your judgments about yourself, your plans, your memories, your hopes, all clouds. And beneath them all, holding them all, is your true nature, clear, peaceful, already resting, already home. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 CE, over 1800 years ago. His body returned to dust. His empire crumbled. His achievements faded into history. But his words remain, written in the dark of his own sleepless nights, offered to himself as reminders, as anchors, as ways back to peace. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Even after the hardest night, morning comes. And with it, another chance, another day, another opportunity to live with virtue, with wisdom, with peace. You awake tomorrow, whether you've slept deeply or lightly or hardly at all. And when you wake, you'll have a choice. You can carry tonight's frustration into the new day, or you can receive the morning, as Marcus suggested, as a precious privilege, as a gift, as another turn of the wheel that's been turning since the beginning of time, and will turn long after you're gone. The wisdom isn't that you'll never struggle. The wisdom is that struggle doesn't have to become suffering. Wakefulness is just wakefulness. Thoughts are just thoughts. Discomfort is just discomfort. None of it means anything about you. None of it represents failure. It's all just weather passing through the sky of your awareness. And the sky your deepest self remains untouched, peaceful, whole. Asterisk as you lie here now. Feel the weight of centuries supporting you. Every person who has ever lived has lain awake some nights. Every anxious thought you've had tonight has been thought 1,000,000 times before by other humans, across cultures and centuries. You're not alone in this. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're having the completely normal human experience of a mind that sometimes won't quiet, in a world that sometimes feels overwhelming, in a life that includes both ease and difficulty, both rest and worthfulness, and somehow, mysteriously, all of it is perfect. Not pleasant always, not comfortable always, not comfortable always, but perfect in the sense that it's exactly what's happening, exactly what's real, exactly what you're here to experience, and learn from and grow through. The Stoics would say this moment is, even this moment of wakefulness is, exactly what the universe intends. It's your curriculum, your teacher, your path to wisdom. Asterisk, so rest now. Not in the sleep you're seeking, but in the acceptance you've found. Rest in knowing you've done everything that can be done. Rest in recognizing that virtue doesn't require perfect circumstances. Rest in the vastness of your true nature, which is never disturbed by passing clouds. Rest in belonging to something infinitely larger than yourself. Rest in the ancient wisdom that has carried humans through darkness for thousands of years. Asterisk, your breathing is so soft now, so gentle, barely noticeable. Your body has released its holding, its tension, its insistence. Your mind has quieted not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting it. And in this space of non-resistance, of acceptance, of alignment with what is, sleep may come. Or it may not. And either way, you're okay. Either way, you're held. Either way, you're home. Asterisk, the philosophers are with you, whispering across centuries. Marcus in his imperial chamber, Seneca in his garden, Epictetus in his simple room. There, all here, reminding you, you're stronger than you know, wiser than you believe, more peaceful than you imagine. The peace isn't somewhere else. It's not in the future, not in different circumstances, not in finally falling asleep. It's here, now, available in this exact moment when you stop demanding. Anything else? Asterisks or let go now. Completely, gratefully, peacefully. Let the day dissolve into darkness. Let your thoughts fade like stars at dawn. Let your body sink into the softness that holds you. Let your mind rest in the vastness that you are. Nothing to do, nothing to become, nothing to fix or solve or understand. Just this, just breathing, just being, just the ancient rhythm of existence, flowing through you as it has flowed through countless beings before you, and will flow through countless beings after you. Asterisk, you are held. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be, and the wisdom of ages whispers. Rest now. Rest. Sweet dreams, philosopher. Sweet dreams. Asterisks, and so, as these ancient voices fade into the silence from which they came, as the philosophers return to their gardens and their chambers and their quiet contemplations, you remain here, breathing softly, resting deeply, held by something far older than philosophy, older than language, older than thought itself. Asterisk, the wisdom has been offered, the lessons have been learned, and now there's nothing left but this gentle darkness, this precious stillness, this moment of perfect, complete surrender to what is dot. Asterisk, all the striving can end, all the seeking can cease, all the worry can dissolve like morning mist in sunlight, because you've found what you were looking for not out there in achievement or understanding or perfect circumstances, but here, in acceptance, in allowing, in the profound peace of finally letting everything be exactly as it is. Asterisk, may you rest in this wisdom. May you wake renewed. May you carry this peace into your days like a secret treasure. And may you always remember that you are vast as the sky, steady as the earth, ancient as the stars, and perfectly, beautifully, completely enough. Asterisk, rest well, philosopher. Rest well, asterisk, sweet dreams.